Somebody call a doctor because Bad Medicine is back. Over there is Diamond Dave Damone. This is the Appleton Oak. That's the answer. I'm Mason Quinn. Folks, today we are getting back to Adolescence. This is episode 3, and you folks have been fantastic in the comments. This show has been incredibly eye-opening for me, so just excited to see what's next. Excited and intrigued.
Yeah, every aspect of the show has been really well done, and so I'm definitely ready, willing, and able to get back into another one-shot episode because they've done it masterfully so far.
Yeah, it's a difficult show to watch. Faces a lot of very raw realities of the world that we're living in, but an important watch for us as well. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes were just mind-blowingly crazy, wild ride, everything above. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we get here in episode 3. Let's go! Oh, okay.
7 month
months.
time jump.
Oof, that is a hefty. With everything going on,
big
that's
jump.
a
We went from
huge.
day 3 to 7 months.
Yeah.
What does that say? Clinical psychologist.
Psychologist.
Sorry, I'm a bit late.
So you're coming up on the cameras?
I heard he was involved in a violent incident. It was reported up. That would be useful to see.
I'll fire up the megaport.
This guy's giving me some
I think we've seen him
weird
before.
vibes right off the bat.
Yeah, he's been pretty quiet. I don't know if that's relevant. What I think or observe is relevant to what you snooze.
Why is the security guard telling this clinical psychologist what's anything?
Bruising and scratching.
I read the report.
Both blame the other.
No, I know, I read the report.
And you know what you're going to say in the report?
I wouldn't be here if I knew that.
If the other one of you, we only needed 3. So
You can't say anymore. It's important. I don't know anything about what the other psychologist says, does, or thinks.
Wow. So this has been...
It's about making the right assessment, not the fastest. I need to get a hot chocolate from the machine.
remember,
Wow. What a setup for...
Getting hot chocolate for him, but I think that'd be kind of risky with given his behavior there. Throw it at her or something.
Why is this...
Marshmallows softening.
Oh,
yeah, we've got a torture lab in the basement. Government approved, all very hush-hush.
I don't think that's very funny given the circumstances.
Never done them before?
well, I
Remember,
think that-
these guys are so
yeah,
numb to everything.
It's
though.
just, I
They've
think
been there
they're
forever.
highlighting that.
Still, you have a psychiatrist in. It's like,
It's not famous like your Jamie. You know what I'm?
You okay?
Yes?
You need us, we're here. Same goes for you, Jenny.
Yeah.
We'll be watching, okay?
Hot chocolate.
You remembered. Thank you.
And I saved you half my sandwich in case you were hungry. Cheese and pickle.
No salad.
Just cheese and pickle. Do you want it? I'll save it for later.
No. Did you make it?
Yes.
His attitude is so different now after 7 months.
You're looking better than last time.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, you just got some of your colour back.
Sound like a granny. Oh, you got your colour back. You can't have been that ill.
Do you see your grandparents much?
Well, not recently, no.
No, I meant before all this.
Yeah, a bit. My dad's side. My dad's mum and dad's mum didn't get on with us.
So what are your dad's parents like?
Like him. I like a slice of my dinner if you've got one in Amanda.
Slice of what?
Bread. You're posh, aren't you?
No, I'm just not from where you're
Well,
from.
what do you call bread? If you don't call it a slice.
Bread?
Bet you call him Grandpa.
I do not.
Bet you do.
I call him Pop Pop.
What? Do you?
I think she's just trying to establish some sort of,
Connection.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like the detective did in the first episode, interrogating him.
I wonder
You're not
if
going to
he's-
try the sandwich?
He's nervous the way he's itching and scratching and stuff.
Hey.
Oh, I really messed up then.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. You see a lot of your dad and your granddad, do you? What's your dad and his dad like?
Men.
Okay. Well, would masculine be an okay word to use?
You used it.
When I hear the word masculine, I think they can mend things. They like to make things. They like sports. They like going to the pub.
Not the pub, but yeah.
So your granddad's more of a pub man, is he?
I don't know. He's not around that much anymore. every other Sunday, maybe. A bit more in the holidays. We went to Tenerife in them once.
On holiday?
No, banana picking. Obviously, it was on holiday.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone use banana picking in a...
Man, this whole thing so far is pretty interesting with his personality right now, too.
This all started because I said you sounded like a granny. Now you're just going on about masculine stuff. First time you came, you had actual questions. Now you're just chatting shit.
Oh, that tone changed.
It just feels like a trick.
Trick? Trick into what?
My dad's okay.
Like that.
Yeah, just
Wow.
gave her the answer that he thinks she wants.
Wow. Well, apparently there is a need if you're that sensitive about it.
Now I've pissed you off.
No.
Can I see your notes? What you've got written down about me?
Do you see me writing anything
You
down?
must write stuff down.
Yes.
Can I see what you wrote?
Of course you can't.
Well, Dylan and the other lawyers said you work for us.
That's not what they say, Jamie, and I know that because I asked them the last time you said that to me. I've explained this. I've been employed by your team, but I don't work for
What
you.
do you tell them?
I'm writing an independent, that's a very
What
important
did
word,
they
okay? An independent pre-sentence offence report, which the judge will read in order to get an understanding of you and your understanding of the charges.
Okay, so she's not there as like a therapist for him. She's there like
The courts.
for making a report. All right.
Yeah, they're still putting the case
Yes,
together.
Yeah,
I've asked some
yeah.
straightforward questions, but I think, am I
Just
boring
want to
you?
like clarify. Yeah.
No.
Okay. We had a good conversation last time. Could we try that again?
What did we talk about last time?
We spoke about your friends, how well Lisa's doing, what you think your mum thinks
What,
of
I
you.
know you want to talk about my dad.
Well, I want to talk about lots of things. Well, I wanted to talk about the fight you had.
Oh, that was nothing.
I was interested why you got in a fight.
He hit me first.
Oh, here we go.
Because we've had beef over stuff.
You're telling me it's not that interesting?
It's not.
Okay, let's move on. I also wrote down that I wanted to talk to you about what being a man feels like. It's too big a question, right? And the fight's too small a question. Which is why it's more useful for me to see where the conversation goes and steer it a bit into what you think of your dad and your granddad, for instance. The type of men you think they are, rather than saying, so, Jamie, what do you think being a man feels like?
Seems to have really settled in here.
I mean, he's definitely, to me, feeling like he's on the defensive here, like just trying to challenge her on everything.
Yeah.
He works hard, long hours. You get the best money for emergency plumbing out of hours, you know.
Is he funny?
Sometimes.
Loving?
No, that's weird.
Angry?
Suppose.
How angry does he get?
He's never hit me. Is that what this is all about?
Well, why do you call him angry?
He just gets mad. We all do.
Okay, that's okay. He's just angry in a normal way.
He's pulled a shed down once. That's as bad as it gets.
Pulled a shed down.
I thought it was quite funny at the time. Lisa did too then. He's not like that most of the time.
What does he do when he's not working?
It just feels like you're testing him.
He's a big presence in your life. He was your appropriate adult.
Yeah, because he doesn't judge. He's a kind person.
So what does he do when he's not working?
He basically likes all sport.
Would you watch lawn bowls with him?
It's not for me.
You're not into sport.
No. I'm not good at much, but I'm really good at getting out of PE.
Jeez.
Headaches, hurt my leg. Sir, I feel dizzy, can I sit down? That sort of thing.
What does your dad make of that?
He doesn't know.
His dad has no idea how much lying he does.
Football thing on Saturdays. He'd cheer me on and everything, but when I'd fuck up, he'd just look away. Maybe he just didn't want me to see him looking sorry,
Sorry.
ashamed.
How did you feel when you saw that? Shame.
He's supposed to say, oh, bet he wasn't ashamed. Bet he just thought that, Jamie.
Have other people said that to you?
It's just the right thing to say.
Isn't it lying?
No, I don't know, I don't like lying.
Well, the background noise is very interesting. I think it's representative of kind of the noise in his head.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't into school sports either.
You were good at other stuff though, weren't you?
Well, did you not think you were very good at anything else? It must be hard to feel that way.
No, I think most people think like that.
Most people think they're bad at everything.
And most people are.
Does your sister feel like that?
No, Lisa's clever.
Your dad?
I don't know. My mum does though.
Your mum thinks she's bad at everything.
She can cook or roast, but I mean, you'd have to ask her. Have you met them yet?
I've spoken to your dad on the phone.
Well, it's wrong that I'm in here.
We got you on camera.
Camera kind of got you there, pal.
Why couldn't they put me in a proper prison?
A better facility wasn't available.
Or put me in a madhouse?
It's a secure training centre.
Training? Ryan gets to stay at home until his trial.
Ryan isn't accused of such a serious crime.
Accused. If I did it, if I hurt her, then I get it, but I didn't, so...
I understand it, Jamie, and this wasn't my decision. This
am I
was the
getting
best
moved for the
place for you
trial?
to be. Nothing has been decided yet.
Do you know where it's going to be? London or somewhere local?
Down. You need to sit down, Jamie. If you don't sit down, I have to stop this discussion.
Maybe I want you to.
Do you? Jamie, if you do not sit...
Look, I fucking want to sit down! You do not tell me when to sit down! You do not control what I fucking... Look at me now! You do not control what I do in my life! Get that in that fucking little head of yours!
Holy shit.
Is everything okay?
Wow.
The distraught this kid.
There isn't a problem.
Two
Jimmy.
things. Wow. The second thing, and I know this is very heavy subject matter, but this kid's crushing this performance.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's heavy subject matter, but huge, an incredible job
Yeah.
of this young man.
Can I have another hot chocolate, please?
And now he just thinks his outburst is fine.
Yeah. It's over now.
No consequences for his actions.
No, he instead he gets another hot chocolate,
Yep.
which is...
no recognizing that there is
Well, maybe.
consequences
She might not be getting it.
for actions. I hate to go back to the parent stuff from last time, but
Well, they gave us a little snapshot.
you yell
of,
like that at an
life
adult,
is
at a
like.
Right
professional.
now, are you seeing like her body language and everything? Look at that.
She's tense. Yeah, that was a scary moment. I mean, that's borderline in that situation. You got to wonder if she
Well,
just
and
steps out.
he's saying he didn't do anything wrong. Like,
Yeah,
he,
And now
he truly
again,
believes it.
Yep. And now again,
Yep.
can I have more hot chocolate?
Yep.
Could I look in the room?
There's no audio.
That's fine, can I?
Mi casa is your casa.
One thing that these actors have been doing so great on is even on the back shots, their body language of expressing.
A lot of body language. Even when she was getting the hot chocolate before and dude was leaning against the wall, I'm like, that's pretty unprofessional. It's a lot of, they're using body language very, very heavily in this episode.
All of it. Every episode.
What are you seeing?
Hey, dude, let her have a goddamn second.
Yeah, just back off, dude.
Just I'm reading a book on that at the moment. See,
Dude, she's working.
people hide. And I don't need to tell you this, but they hide so much. Maybe they tell the truth with their bodies. Faces.
Yes, maybe.
Do you want a job swap?
Dude. Oh my God, dude.
It's your holiday allowances.
Bro,
I
read
like my
the
job
room.
most of the time.
I hate mine, so you're probably best off.
It's like he's making an A+ effort to try to get fired.
Pleased to help.
Thank you.
Dude, read the. Oh, fuck, dude. Some people just.
Well, you work in that environment, it's going to very much like destroy how you would normally act.
Would you be more comfortable with me staying inside?
No, I wouldn't like that at all. I'm not a police officer. I'm not here to elicit a confession. I'm just here to understand. I know you think I'm trying to trick you.
I said that ages ago.
10 minutes?
And I understand that you need to have an understanding of my understanding. Ask your questions.
Now it feels like there's a sense of remorse or guilt that's set in now that he's had a minute.
Well, I suppose the other thing I think of in relation to the word masculinity would be how masculine men feel about women.
We're back on that, are we?
Yes, is that okay? I've got your hot chocolate.
No, it's fine.
I'll get it.
No, just sit down, please. It's fine. I don't deserve it. Ask your questions about men, women, whatever.
Can't control his actions.
How did your dad treat your mum?
Dad's actually nice to Mum.
You did say he tore down a shed.
Yeah, he just gets angry with himself, but he's never hit her.
Does he speak to other women?
He loves my mum.
No, I'm asking whether any of his friends are women.
No, his mates are his mates. I thought we'd done talking about my dad.
Jamie, I'm just trying to understand.
Understand? And none of this has nothing to do with him.
Do you have any mates who are women?
No. Yeah, the other shrink asks more normal questions, you know that?
Okay.
You want to know what he
I
asks?
can't, no.
He's getting revved up again.
My conclusions have to be independent.
Right, okay, I won't say anything.
What do you think about women?
I like them.
But you're not, like you say, particularly friends with them. Are you attracted to women?
Yeah, I'm not gay.
We've established you don't have a girlfriend. Do you like a girlfriend?
Yeah, who doesn't?
If you had a girlfriend, what would you do with her?
What does that mean?
Well, would you take her out?
The cinema.
To see what kind of film?
A horror.
Or that.
And after the cinema, would you take her for a walk, take her straight home?
Not straight home.
Would you want to kiss her?
Are you allowed to ask these questions?
Well, you don't discuss this in PSHE. What do you think is the normal amount someone your age would do sexually with a girl or boy?
You really want me to answer?
Yes, if you can.
Touching, kissing.
Well, what do you mean by touching? Her chest?
Yeah.
Her backside?
Are you sure you're allowed to ask these questions?
You think it's normal for a 13-year-old heterosexual boy to have engaged in touching of a girl's chest and her backside?
I've actually done all that. Kissing and touching. And one of them touched my, through my trousers. And I think she liked it.
And you liked it?
Of course. Not really.
You didn't like it?
I don't know. That didn't happen.
So we're getting more lies
He's
here.
making everything up.
I've seen photos, though. Just these two girls in my ear that I knew.
Would they be happy you saw those photos?
Everyone else did.
Holy shit.
Oh, it got spread around school.
God.
Yep.
Was Katie one of those two girls?
What?
Shit.
I didn't guess it. I asked it, and now I'd like to know what it felt like to see her like that.
I liked it. Are we allowed to talk like this?
How does it make you feel looking at naked pictures of people? Powerful? Do you feel like it gives you a power?
No.
Were you attracted to Katie?
She wasn't my type. No offense, quite flat, you know.
I was thinking he was going to snap again, the way she was going with those questions.
I feel like we're getting nothing but lies now out of this
The
kid.
picture got passed around the school. Snapchat, you know. It was just her. She sent it to Fidget and then he sent it on.
Why did she send it to Fidget?
I don't know, she fancied him.
So she was trying to attract him.
I think he asked her. He's not going to get any more pictures though, is he?
Holy shit.
Wow.
Zero remorse from this
No,
kid.
I didn't mean from her. No one will send him any of her pictures because he wasn't careful with the one he got. Why do you say she's dead like that?
Because she is.
Has he not come to grips with what he's done? It doesn't seem
That's
like
what I
it.
was
so.
thinking. Like,
Jamie, I asked whether you were attracted to women. Do you think women are attracted to you?
No. Because I'm ugly. Aren't you supposed to say I'm not ugly?
What I think isn't important.
Yeah, you don't say the things normal people say, do you?
Well, how would you feel if I did say you're not ugly?
I just don't know why you don't say the things normal people say.
You thought I should have contradicted you when you said your dad was ashamed of you, and you think I should contradict you now when you tell me you think yourself ugly.
I'm fascinated.
I'm interested in it because what you think is more important to me than what is true, okay?
that's an interesting line.
Now they're getting loud again with the background
So how do you feel about being ugly?
inside his head.
How would you feel? You don't think you're pretty.
I'm not the interesting person in this room.
You don't think you're pretty. You do think I'm ugly.
I haven't passed judgment on either of those things. If you think about it for very good reason.
Oh, for very good reason.
I want to understand you.
To understand my understanding of my understanding of my understanding.
Yes.
The other bloke is much more easy.
Okay.
Him checking whether I understand was much easier. Whether I understand what I did. No, fuck off!
Holy shit.
Oh, it's like a fucking trap in here.
Jamie!
It's twice now. And I got it on camera.
That time first time he smashed the cup. That time he throws a chair.
Hey? What the f was that?
Now he's trying to
Jesus.
intimidate
Signal
her.
away like a fucking queen, yeah?
Oh, the eyes.
I need you to sit down.
What a
Jesus
that-
Christ. This kid. He gets part of his emotions. Gets that rage.
He has no,
And then-
no emotional control.
Yeah, none.
Are you done?
Fine. You happy now? Hey?
If you want me to go, Jamie, I can go. You said in one of our previous sessions that you had friends, Tommy and Ryan, but that you wouldn't consider yourself popular. You said you were bullied. The three of you were bullied.
People like you just love talking about bullying, don't
You
you?
said Tommy was called Round Pounds because his mum did her shopping at Poundland. You said the three of you felt ostracised quite a
big
lot.
words coming out now.
You said sometimes this would get physical. People would spit on you from classroom windows. You'd be tripped up and pushed. You were called names and you were physically abused.
No, I was just tripped up and spat on.
My question, Jamie, is why do you have an Instagram account?
I need one
Why?
to look at other people's accounts. You can't if you haven't got one.
You don't need to put photos up, though. Why do you put photos up of yourself, I mean?
Am I not allowed?
Yeah. To prove those bullies wrong by showing the fun you have with
What?
Tommy and Ryan?
No.
To show the fun you have with your family?
There's no way I'm putting anything up with them.
Someone might like one of your photos. You might get into a conversation, make a new friend, meet a girl.
What? No. What are you on about?
Katie commented on your photos on a number of different occasions.
Oh boy, here we go.
I was wondering if we were going to get into this.
She wrote this.
Has Dylan passed these questions fit?
Yes, he has. I'm allowed to ask about intimacies, Jamie. But if this makes you uncomfortable or you have any questions, there are people in this facility that can help you.
Are you all right? You look a bit red. Did I scare you when I shouted?
Look at him trying to go back to intimidation.
Yeah, whenever he gets uncomfortable, he tries to go after her like that.
Could you tell me what these emojis
Oh,
mean?
how embarrassing is that? Getting scared of a 13-year-old.
What do these emojis mean, Jamie? What do the kidney beans mean? They're kidney beans, right?
She's pretending like I'm part of one of those truth groups. Ones that say that women don't want us, we don't care.
Are you part of those?
No.
But you know what they say.
Yeah, because everyone kept on going on about it. I had a look, but I didn't like it.
Could you explain them all?
Want love, won't get it. A red pill exploding, and then that's an 80-20 thing.
What's an 80-20 thing?
80% of women are attracted to 20% of men. I do think they're right about that, though.
And lots of people liked her comments quite a lot.
Yeah, they thought it was funny.
You must have found that quite cruel. Did she do this to anyone else?
No,
Why did she do it to you?
because I'm ugly.
Did you ever call her on it?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I'm not what you say I am, or she just smiled and said, okay, and walked away.
And you never thought to tell anyone what she was doing?
It's a bit like that now, isn't it?
It just must have hurt.
I didn't kill her. You can't trust videos anymore. She was a bitch. Even you can see that. I should have killed her, but I didn't. I just...
Oh.
13-year-old saying this shit.
All I did was... all hopeful, like I'm going to say something important.
The defense mechanism, yeah, he starts getting...
Yeah.
It's all in his eyes.
I just asked
He
her
does a
out.
great job.
After the photo.
Yeah.
Oh, he asked her out.
And I wanted to know if she'd come to the fair with me.
And there you
I
have
just
it.
thought she might be weak. I just thought she might be weak, so everyone was calling her a slag. So I thought when she was like that weak, she might like me. It's clever, don't you think?
Clever? Holy
That's not
fuck.
clever.
Her weakness made her more gettable, was your theory.
Tried playing the nice guy.
Yeah.
I thought you said you didn't like her.
I just said, you want to come at the fair?
And what did she say?
Wore his best suit. In his head, he tried his hardest.
She just laughed and said, oh, I'm not that desperate.
She was, let's say, attacking you for presuming you could ask her out.
Your words.
You think they're unfair?
You think she's a bullying bitch?
Just keeps trying to justify it.
Finding justification for it now.
I could have touched her, but I didn't. I had a knife. She was scared, but I didn't do that. I could have touched any part of her body I wanted to. I really wanted to, but I didn't. Most boys would have touched her. So that makes me better.
Kid.
She has a look on her face like she's never seen anything like this before.
Or just the revelation she just got
Yeah.
out too on that.
I didn't mean any of that. I'm just tired. I'm talking too much. I'm tired. I didn't kill her.
Jamie, do you understand what death is?
Yeah.
Do you understand that Katie's gone and she can't come back?
I didn't do it.
That whoever did kill her, they extinguished the possibility of her future life?
I didn't mean to be mean about her. She just didn't like me.
Listen, do you understand?
I'm not dumb.
Do you understand that murder is a crime?
Yeah.
Do you understand that if you're found guilty of that crime, you'll be held in detention?
Who doesn't know that?
Do you understand who will make the decision about that?
Judge. Jury.
Okay. Jamie, this is our last session.
No, he doesn't like that.
I think you'll benefit from
No,
thinking
no,
more
I
about-
won't.
Well, that's just what I think.
And then you come back. It's just like fucking done, is it?
I hope
All
you
of
take
it.
what I said seriously. Thanks for your time. I'll ask Frank to come back in now.
Thanks for my time. Are you going to tell the judge all that?
I think you've spoken to me with honesty, yes.
So it doesn't seem like a proper goodbye.
It is.
It doesn't seem like one. Can I ask you something? Do you like me?
Here we go.
He just wants validation from somebody.
He's got low.
Was to assess
Because I
you
like you.
as a professional.
Not like that, not fancying you. Just as a person. What did you think about me then? Don't you go fucking telling everyone I did it!
Hey, come
Don't you
on.
dare!
Whoa, come on.
Don't you go fucking get the fuck off me! Don't you dare!
Hey,
What did you think about me then?
okay.
Tell the guys I'm okay! Tell him I'm okay, please!
She went through a lot in this 40-some minutes.
Man, having to deal with that stuff every day, it's like police officers or whatever. You have to deal with the worst of the worst every day of your life.
Well, this kind of goes back to episode 1 where they were all saying we don't like doing juvie cases.
Yeah,
And it's
yep.
Same for her probably, because the information that she ends up pulling, it's just such a heavy hit.
Oh, God.
Seems like it's just hitting her that she was in here with a killer this whole time.
Who didn't even really understand.
Right. Thinks he's justified in what he did. If he even really, whatever.
It still doesn't excuse the fact that just because somebody didn't like you or you got bullied, it does not mean you take another
I'm
life.
just wondering if mentally, does he honestly know that she's gone?
I don't.
It's like, because he says he knows and he knows, but he keeps going on about
Does he?
I didn't do anything. And she had to keep driving the question. Like, she's not coming back, right? This happened. The amazing thing with this episode, and it didn't really hit me until towards the end, a couple of things. One, if you didn't speak English, you could watch this, no subtitles, no nothing, and just the energy that's in the room would pretty much tell you everything that's going on. I think I would love to hear if anybody out there who does English isn't their first language, if they've watched, if maybe humor me, in the comments, watch this without any subtitles. I just wonder, how much of it do you get? Obviously you're not going to get, all the little points, but I think the energy that these two actors portrayed in this episode is incredible, and it pretty much tells you everything about what's going on. A couple of things that I wanted to touch on early on that I wanted to give credit to before I got into some of the heavier stuff was the way it was filmed. Obviously, we know all about the one take, right? That's been said to death. But what I liked about this episode was the way it was filmed. The psychiatrist and Jamie. The way they were filmed, they started out very far apart, and not just on the table, but the way the camera angle was hitting it, they looked and they seemed very far apart. And as the episode went on, they got closer. Brianni moved her chair closer to Jamie, and I thought that was a real interesting touch how they worked through that, and they visually how they did that. That was wild. The way that she brought up the social media aspect of it, because for me, that was when everything really started to kind of get crazy. Obviously it seemed like when starting out, it was a lot of like the standard psychology type questions. Well, what do you think of your parents? How was that at home? What could shape you this way possibly? But then when she got into the social media aspect of things and really got in more to Jamie is where I really thought it kicked off. And she asked him, well, why do you even have an Instagram? Well, so I can see other people. And it's so wild to me because, not to get too far off topic, but, social media and things have only been around for a very short period of time in the grand scheme of things. And we don't even know what the effects of that are. I mean, we see some effects, with things like this show highlights, for example, and, there's been a few other things, but, as far as long-term effects, it's like, we don't even know. So that's a whole fascinating topic in and of itself. The thing that I liked, and I said it a few times, was that with Jamie, and he knows what happened to Katie, and he knows he did it, but he can't accept the fact that, well, A, what he did was wrong, but two, it's like he thinks she's not gone, but he knows that she's gone at the same time because he made a couple of cracks about it, about not being able to do that again or whatever. So it's a fascinating psychological look into like the mental gymnastics he has to do to try to see himself as either being a victim or just outright not being guilty at all. And that was just really, really intense. And we saw that with the energy that they used. And of course, the great acting from both actors was incredible. So again, just an absolute stellar episode. I could go on, but I don't want to monopolize the time here. I'm sure we'll bounce it around the table on this episode. So those are just some of the things that jumped out to me on this episode.
Yeah, we've always talked about, how it's shot and the lighting and the sound design. And I thought, Oak and Diamond Dave both touched on it throughout the episode when it seemed like he was starting to have his anger building up. You could hear the raining pounding on the outside. But also with Jamie Owen, the actor, you could tell also in his eyes, he looked like it was the total switch. And that's always a great tell of a good actor, if you can just watch their eyes and you get a presence of how they are in that scene. And when he would get into his angry fits, you just saw like he was just not doing the Full Metal Jacket, looking through the eyebrows, but you saw like the coldness then done in his eyes, and that
he would bring up the bottom of his eyes a little bit.
It just seemed like he was, and he would start getting, angrier and angrier, and to the point where, he's slapping the coffee off, throwing the chair. And, it boils down to, for him, like he's thinking he's ugly. He has very low self-esteem. And I thought that was very, very well shown in this episode, because like asking things about his dad, asking things about, a girl, and like he immediately goes, well, it's because I'm ugly. I'm not going to have a girlfriend. I mean, to the point, like, I don't know why, like he even said at one point, I hate lying, but then he had a full on story of stuff he had done with girls when he hadn't done that. He just happened to see a picture of Katie that was passed around the whole school. And he thought at that moment, when everybody was talking about her, putting her down, he thought, this is my chance.
Yeah, here's my chance to take advantage of it.
And, and like he said, she responded with, I'm not that desperate, which with a kid that already has that low of self-esteem, looks like he has anger issues, and then gets that on top of it. I mean, we saw that he only has Tommy and Ryan as his friends. That's all he had. So like him trying to, and then him still trying to justify that he didn't do anything wrong. He was just trying to scare her, when it seemed like he was still, he's 13, and you try to think of where you were at 13 wise, maturity level wise. It seemed like he was still not getting the fact that she was gone for good. Like he was still not understanding that. So the show is just so amazing. And then also Erin Doherty, that played the psychologist, she did an amazing job as well. They did a great job acting in this, and you can go, like you said, you can go on for hours just discussing what was said in that room. But I thought the acting was phenomenal, as it has been the first two episodes. So this did not disappoint as well, and how Owen is just playing this character to perfection, to the point that you're kind of terrified of a 13-year-old, and he just. But
he has that ability to be so disarming.
Yeah,
he can look very young
and
innocent, and then he can look incredibly aggressive and angry.
There's times where you see him, and he just seems like that normal, kid that you just pal around with and have fun with, and then you start getting more and more, and you try to find out, and he starts losing control. Like he doesn't have the power, and he just switches, and then like her jumping was totally justified in my opinion. He was almost right in her face and did the like, of course, and then of course he had to use that against her after that, saying, trying to rub it in. So he's just doing a great job. I look forward to anything and everything he does moving forward, because I think this kid, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll make the cut, but I had a couple of comments throughout the course of the reaction about the job that both of these the actor and actress were doing with their performances, which were incredible. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's tough commentary to make because of the weight of the subject matter, but it deserves to be said when they're crushing their performances like this. The one take shot, I mean, as far as a scene like this where it's just a real conversation and they just kept it one take, it wasn't like cut, in and out and cut and somebody talking. It's like the tension never gets let off. So right from the get-go, the gas pedal is to the floor, and that never gets let off. And seeing his multiple outbursts, you're just kind of waiting for the next one to happen, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness. So the one shot, I mean, is kind of mind-numbing to me. Look, I took probably the most notes I've taken in a while on a show, and rightfully so. I thought it was weird. She tried bringing up his dad for a pretty extensive period of time. And you could see he was very uncomfortable with that. And she said, "Is your dad loving?" And he goes, "Well, no, that's weird." And that's really tough for me to hear as a father. And, the last episode I went in pretty hard on parents. We saw so much about, negative, poor behavior from these kids in schools. And I went in pretty hard on parents needing to teach their kids to be more respectful of adults. And, I think his respect for authority here is pretty alarming. So again, it's like, okay,
Well, it's a reflection of what that school was doing too.
right?
To a sense.
It's a pretty alarming reflection of were these kids not raised to respect authority? No, like look, for me, respecting authority and respecting elders are kind of there's a little bit of gray area there, because I don't, it's good for a kid generally to respect everybody. But, in life, I don't think respect should just be given because somebody's older than you. But, when you're talking about this sort of age gap, I think generally it's important. Look, if you're 20, you don't have to just give respect to somebody who's 30, But at this age, generally a level of respect for adults and especially in this particular dynamic, I think is important. So it's like, okay, why does this young man think it's even okay or acceptable to raise his voice like this, to yell? I could take it one step further. The fact that he's smacking the cup and throwing his chair. Well, now there's a physical component to it, that goes past just, big emotions. He said he saw his dad, tear down a shed once. I don't know if that's what that exactly means. If it's like the literal definition of, we have sheds here,
Probably I would assume like a little metal or plastic shed.
Yeah. But to tear it down,
garden tools in or something.
And he repeatedly said that his dad didn't hit mom. Dad didn't hit mom. He said he loved her, but he didn't really talk about whether he used, this sort of language, was yelling at, parents or anything like that, or whether he was verbally abusive. So they were kind of ambiguous there.
It seemed like he didn't know his folks at all.
Yeah. It seemed like he didn't have like that tight of a relationship. The fact when they ask if the dad
he was
is
defensive this whole time too.
Yeah.
So he had a guard up anytime.
The fact that when she asked, "Is your dad loving?" he said, "Is it weird?" That was, that was uncomfortable for me. I think a kid that age should know, yes, my parents, especially my father, is very loving. The talk about his sports, look, it's your job as a dad to be there and try to, and any parent to build confidence in your kids. And I think in those moments where they know they've made mistakes, that's when it matters more than anything. Yeah, your kid scores a goal, hey, great job. It's when they missed, it's, hey, we'll get it next time. Or if you want to be a little bit more analytical on it and say, hey, what could we have done better in this situation? Or, even more harsh, like, hey, you're more capable than that. But in any regards, not showing shame for a kid's mistakes, especially at this age. Look, it's one thing when your kids are really, really young and they're a little less self-conscious. You start getting in that, 11, 12, 13-year-old age where they're really starting to mature. You're getting close to puberty and a lot of changes are happening physically and emotionally. I mean, that's such a pivotal point. And to not have that confidence instilled with him from his parents and, his dad, that was tough to hear. The discussion got very revealing when he started talking about Katie. And because in previous episodes, it was, no, I don't really know her. We're not friends, this and that. And then we find out, nothing was mentioned in the previous 2 episodes. Even, that first interrogation with him, I asked her out and she said no, and he felt embarrassed by the way she said, no, I'm not that desperate. But his intentions on asking her out were pretty bad too, right? Well, she, got herself in a situation where she was embarrassed because some, photos got sent around, and he thought she would be weak and would maybe want to go out with him, which is sadly very telling about his own level of self-confidence, that maybe I can only get a girl who's in a weak state, but also his mindset about like this is the right time to ask somebody out because she's, she was weak. So that was really, really disturbing, and, and I think, Katie's response to him, you know, when she was leaving comments on stuff, it was like, well, you know, kids are smart, you know, and if you have a young person and it's like, okay, I'm in a bad spot and you think just because I'm in this, like, you know, it may not even so much like, oh, I wouldn't go out with you, but just like, hey, is now an appropriate time to be asking out. So there was a lot there. It was just really, honestly, it was sad for me to watch, to see. I know it's cliche, but this, you know, we lost a young life in Katie, and this young man's life it's pretty much ruined in the lives of both their families. And I talked about that in a previous episode. It's tough. And again, I went pretty hard the last episode on the parents, but the one thing that I think is worth recognizing, and you know, they talked a lot about social media here. She broke out the messages. You know, the last episode we had the dad that didn't even understand the emojis.
Yeah, the detective.
And you know, and so we're in a very interesting time frame, especially for parents who have kids this age, because you know, if his dad is in his 50s here, his dad didn't really grow up with social media or anything like that. It's not something he has a lot of experience in. Yes, you might have Facebook now. A lot of people that are 50, 60, whatever, have Facebook to keep in touch with friends, but they didn't grow up with that. And I've said in other, you know, reactions on this channel that a lot of the things that we deal with love and popularity and being accepted and stuff, that is something that every generation has dealt with. You know, in 1980, if you had a cool car and cool clothes and your parents had money and you were a jock or good looking or had nice hair or whatever, like those are the things that made you popular, right? So the things that make you the cool kids now, it's not any different than it was 40 years ago or probably 60, 70 years ago. But the big difference now is social media. And I'm not one of these people who's going to say, oh, social media is bad, this and this and this. But it brings a completely new dynamic into young people's lives, and also a new dynamic into the lives of parents who have to figure out, like, where's that line between privacy that I'm giving my kid and trust. You know, I in the last episode, I likened it to like a diary in the 80s, you know, where you're going to read your kid's diary because you feel like you should know what's going through their head and the things they're going through. Or do you have the trust in them not to read it because, you know, you want there to, again, be that level of trust. And I think that the tricky thing with social media now is bullying. And I'm not talking about bullying from Katie to Jamie, because I don't think that's the right phrase at all for that. So when I'm referencing bullying, please understand the bullying I'm referencing is that he was getting from the other kids when he was saying, you know, I was being kicked at school, having a spat on, stuff like that. And in a situation where a young man like this had a nice household, even 20 years ago, Mason Quinn, you're right. I mean, really, social media, especially for kids, we're less than 2 decades into this, really, as far as kids having social media. Less than 2 decades in, and prior to really the mid to late 2000s, you know, and moving forward, if a kid had a bad day at school and was getting bullied and kids were mean, you go home and if your family life is good, that's done. You got your friends that you hang out with at night, maybe some neighbor kids you play video games with. That's done. And now with social media, bullying is something that can really take place around the clock. These kids go home, there's comments, there's this, there's people sharing pictures, there's all sorts of different things that that kids have to deal with. And as parents, it's, you know, we're in a, you know, kind of a first gen parents who need to deal with their kids these age having social media and the impacts of that on their self-confidence. Like this kid isn't confident. He thinks he's ugly. Like this is a handsome young man and he thinks he's ugly. He doesn't have any confidence. And look, I think social media is going to play a big part in that. You're looking out, you see, of course, we talk about it. Social media is everybody's highlight reel. You know, his dad was a plumber who, he said his dad's out there working hard, making good money. They had a nice house. So, you know, his dad was giving them a very good life. But yeah, social media, you see the kids with the rich parents and the cars and all that, and you're judging yourself against that. So we're in a very, very difficult time for kids, but also for parents.
Well, and the thing that he hit on too, that I just real quick, because you brought it up, he had all those feelings. He thought he was ugly. He thought he was this and that. And what happened? People who prey on that found those individuals and gave him the mindset that he had and made him think those things. And again, I go back to, it's no different than when, there's gang culture. Gangs don't get kids from well-adjusted, nice families and everything's going great. That's not who they go after. They go after the vulnerable, just like, what happens in what they're highlighting here, how people can become exposed to that because they're vulnerable.
Well, and I think what we're being told here is we are in a time where being a good parent is in raising good kids. Those two things don't always align, right? We have to be, as parents, we have to be more active in our kids' lives than ever. You have to be monitoring what they're doing on social media. You have to be monitoring the sort of stuff they're consuming online. He's talking about being a member of these incel groups and stuff online. Like where, 20 years ago, where does a kid even that age consume stuff like that? Yeah, as a parent, you got to worry about what TV show they're watching. Yeah, if you're like my parents in the 80s, we're going to block MTV. And other than that, yeah, you might see a movie your parents don't like at your buddy's house when the parents aren't home or something like that. But the ability for young people, young adults, teenagers to just consume all kinds of information that their parents aren't monitoring is wild. So parents have a bigger challenge than ever. But they have to step up more than ever. And it's very clear that this young man did not have the type of parenting that he needed. He didn't have the resources that he needed. He didn't have the confidence that he needed that comes from proper parenting. And, his mindset about Katie and that, she's weak. And people are making comments like this and that and that and this.
And he's only 13.
And
that's how quick it happens.
And I feel, it's also worth recognizing, wrap this up and kick it over to Diamond Dave, and I'm sure we'll bounce stuff off each other. It's worth recognizing that there's a lot more pressure from these young men on young women that there used to be. I mean, look, young men have been young men since young men have been young men. I'm just going to leave it like that. But the pressure to take photos and send them and do this sort of stuff, and look, that's at this age, that's very, very one-sided. And the pressure for young women to do that sort of stuff, it never existed. Again, pre-social media, look, 20 years ago, you had to take a camera, take it to get developed. That wasn't a thing. Now every, grade school, high school girl's got a phone and she's got young guys pressuring her for stuff. So, I'm not just talking about parents of young men. You need to watch what they're doing and making sure that they're not, consuming content that's going to make them disrespectful towards women or think that women owe them things or stuff like that. If you're the parent of a young woman, you have to be monitoring this stuff more than ever. And there's very real consequences to this sort of stuff. And we're seeing it played out here again in a fictional story, but one that's written and acted in such a manner that it makes it feel very, very real. And look, at the end of the day, I don't want to come off again like, quite as rah parents as I was last episode, because that was more like teach your kid to, respect their teachers and authority. But at this point, we're dealing with issues where, again, if you're the parents of, teenagers with social media, this is where you're a for lack of a better term, you're a first gen parent with all these experiences, and you don't have it easy, but that's the job of a parent.
Yeah, shout out to all of you in the comments there, kind of going back to your parent thing on the last episode, that a lot of parents, kind of like what we were saying in the review too, that they just don't know what's going inside of those school walls. So it kind of went into our conversation of like, hey, how was your day? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's true though. You only get a certain amount of substance, if any kind of substance. It's just one word's boom and then they're gone. So again, it's just, you got to be able to, maybe to your point there, dive in a little bit deeper to be like, hey, can you kind of tell me a little bit more about your day? Things like that. And I get it. Everyone's busy.
Shut up, Dad. That's weird.
Yeah, shut up, Dad. That's weird. And you just got to break some barriers. That's the uphill battle. And that is. You just got to break some barriers, but it may take some finesse. It may take some time. But yeah, we should, in this case, like what happened with his parents to this now to where we're at current timeline, because I hear us talk about the reviews, I see the comments, but I'm kind of wondering, like, I know we're not on episode 4 yet, so maybe they give us it in episode 4. But I'm like, man, I still don't know enough. I mean, I hear just the generalization of Dad's busy. Okay, so am I supposed to take it as Dad's busy from 7 a.m. to 10 at night, and that's when he just doesn't see you. But again, hopefully we get more context. But back to this episode. We saw masterclass. I'm going to talk about the film crew and everyone else here first before the story. Kudos to the writers, the team involved, the actors, because it was basically, for the most part, 2 actors that had to drive this episode home from start to finish. Yeah, they had the 2 security guards in there, but otherwise it was these 2 actors right here, Cooper and Brioni, or Jamie and Brioni.
Brioni.
Well, yeah, that was
the character.
Aaron.
But
Aaron
I don't know
Doherty's
the
actress,
actress's
yeah.
name. But
Aaron,
either way, phenomenal job. I can only imagine the tension that everyone probably had of let's not, you could fail a couple times, but let's hopefully we don't do it too much, because obviously time is money for all these production crews and everything like that. They have a certain amount of time that they got to get this in. So kudos to them, because again, as an actor, I got to imagine that pressure is just constantly there while still having to do all these one takes, which they're making if there is any transitions, they're making it seem very seamless in here. So again, kudos to everyone involved so far in these 3 episodes. Phenomenal. Now for the story, we're getting a very angry, very defiant, and you might as well just go down the whole list with Jamie here. There was a lot of moments in here where, one line he said, "I don't like lying," but yet he was lying multiple times in here. At least that's how I took it on some stuff. With him being 13 and then her ending it the way she did, and some of the words he used in here, to me, it's coming off like he has a very small baseline of death, but maybe not murder. And maybe I'm wrong in saying that a little bit, but he keeps saying, "I didn't kill her." He said it multiple times.
But yet he knows she's gone. And that's like the mental gymnastics he has to do in his mind.
Exactly. He's saying some certain verbiage in here that makes it feel like, well, you must know, because you just said something here. And I can't remember the exact line in here, but I'm pretty sure you folks already probably have an idea what I'm talking about. I think it was just before he had his 2nd episode of Rage there.
Oh, when he stood up?
Yeah, I thought he said something to the line of like,
like whatever I did.
Yeah, whatever I did,
or something
like that.
Yeah,
just those little things make your mind, at least my mind, wander a little bit. Like, okay, so maybe he does understand, but then he comes right back into saying, "I didn't kill her." And it's just like, okay, so
just trying to scare her was one of them.
Yeah, and the intimidation that Jamie was going on in here too, at least 2 times for sure were very obvious. Kudos to the actor and the actress in here for that, because the soulless eyes that he had when he was standing above her, like you were mentioning in there, that was intimidating and scary. If you just even try to put yourself in that position, because you're trying to understand this kid's mindset. So you're not there to do anything else but, right? So when the kid thinks he has this certain level of control and he's trying to assert some kind of, I'll just say dominance control, and you think your body is anticipating, okay, I'm going to get hit here, because that's what he's trying to push at the end of this, but he didn't, luckily. I thought for sure it was going to be some kind of kick or punch. I don't know how you guys felt on that, but that's kind of where
they showed that video earlier to put that in our head that he's prone to do that. Or
He's
at
gotten
least
in a scuffle. A guy he was beefing with.
I have a lot of notes here, but I'm writing them so fast that it actually turns out sloppy here. The
Twin screen.
the fact that the sound design in here, and you pointed it out first, was it was kind of like that rain sign. It was like it was almost like something that was like a popcorn bubbler in a way, like right when it starts getting to be too much, boom, right? So a couple times at the sound design to kind of cue the audience was actually pretty cool to see that. The composure that she had to do on the first instance, I thought was kind of great to see. Because again, we had another person walking away from the camera, and the body language that she was expressing in there told a story of where her mindset was. And it was kind of cool to see that little bit happen. And then when she turned around, you're like, okay, she's getting composure back. She's kind of going over everything in her head now. And that security guard, that was very interesting too with the security guard, not just nailing questions when she's trying to look at the security camera and just try to piece some things together for observation purposes for herself. But he just kept getting what I thought we were kind of saying in there, like personal space, stuff like that. Yeah. That was very
a little close.
Yeah, that was very interesting. So I don't know how some of you folks took that, but I thought it was.
Well, and it was weird how it started out, because even him being a minor character, he still did a massive role in here. And that when he starts out, when we were first introduced to him, and I'll make this very quick, obviously, when we first got introduced to him, it was like, okay, this is a guy who's working in the juvie system. He's very jaded. He just sees them all as troublemakers, and he's done this 100 times before, blah, blah, blah. But then when she came in to do her thing, that's when he got creepy. And Oak, you were calling him out for it. Like, what's this guy doing? Like, why is he right over his shoulder? So that was really weird in the arc that character took and how it kind of went like that.
Yeah, they used body language very, very heavily in this particular episode. And they started with a security guard, like leaning on the wall when she's getting hot chocolate, like kind of a creepy look. And then, standing over her shoulder too close. They use body language with Jamie, like, standing over her, his this, just the way he squinted his eyes one time. They use proximity and body language with Brianni and how close she sat to him, and how when he stood up and like wanted to intimidate her, she just sat in her chair and nope, I'm not moving. I'm staying here. Because she could have stood up, and she was, taller than him, and, became this physical presence and challenged him in that regard. But I don't think she wanted to do that, one, from a professional standpoint, and two, it's just, it sends the wrong message of like, I'm physically larger than you, so I'm in control here. But she
also needed to see that play out.
Yeah, and she didn't back down. And so a very, very, very strong usage of body language in this episode.
Yeah, the one line I thought was very intriguing in here too was her, and I'm going to definitely paraphrase because I can't remember the exact verbiage, but it was, she thought she was wanting to see what he thinks is more important than the actual truth. So I thought that was a very powerful line in here to get some more insight, even though she's given us the why she was there and what she had to do and why she had to have a complete separation from the previous person that was there. But that line kind of stuck out to me because it was like, well, that's interesting too, because in my head too, a little bit is she's obviously there to get information, but also maybe the truth in some way too. But it was good to kind of have her point out, at least for an audience member like me, to, hey, I just need to see how you think and operate here more so than what you actually
perceive as true.
Yeah, almost like a competency test, like, is this kid fit to stand trial? Because that's where he's going after this. And I think that started to sink in at the end.
Yeah. And yeah, kind of one of you guys said it too, but not the ripple effect of losing a teenage girl, and then losing this kid, Jamie, is essentially losing his life. So you can look at it that way too. Even though we actually had a girl lose her life, he's definitely not going to have any life after this. And then the ripple effects on the parents of both parties, and then some of the friends too.
Well,
as we saw in the
Ryan's going to trial as well because he
well, and then that's what, and the friends too, because he said it was my knife, so something's going to happen to him, and that'll be a everlasting effect moving forward on him
and
too,
Jade,
and his parents.
And Jade from last episode.
Jade, thank you. That's who I was trying to refer to from Katie's friend.
best friend.
So, what again? Sorry, folks, if we didn't hit on some subjects in here, but
we
only certain
try to keep it within a relatively decent time frame.
And there's so much. I mean,
there's so much to digest.
Yeah, there's so much to digest and whatnot too. I mean, we're only 33 minutes in this review, so I know we could all probably spend 2 hours on just probably the first 5 minutes of the scene and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I wanted to say just before we wrap, one of the things that we've gotten on this channel on some of the heavier subject matter is people saying things like, "Oh, you know, it's something that we never expected when we started the channel, but like, you know, people saying that, you know, the big brother, uncle kind of dad thing for us. So I think it's,
got legs.
I think it's important. And look, I don't know how many young people of this age watch our channel, but just kind of as a message, as we wrap up this particular episode, I have no idea where the next episode is going to take us. And we had a 7-month time jump here. So who knows, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's tomorrow sentencing, maybe it's 5 years down the road and we see where he's at. But look, if you're a younger man watching this, they talked about masculinity, and look, these years that Jamie's in, I'm going to try to make contact with the camera, not what's going on here. These are tricky years for everybody, right? Yeah, I don't mean to sound like you're a sex ed teacher, but look, there's a lot of changes happening. We're going through tricky times in life. We're trying to figure out where we fit in. It can be super awkward trying to talk to girls, meet girls, and even as an older gentleman, I understand that there's a lot of things you guys are going through with social media and everything else. But that word masculinity can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But, and I'm not trying to be cheesy or cliche here, but it means respecting people, respecting your teachers, respecting your parents, and in this case, respecting women as well. And slamming chairs, throwing stuff, puffing your chest, that doesn't make you masculine. Standing up to people who do that sort of stuff, that's a different story. But so this is kind of two-sided. Be kind to people. Being like tough guy here when he's trying to get in her face, that doesn't make you masculine. But the other message is to like the kids who feel the way he does it. As a father of a young kid, it hurt me seeing somebody who looks like this, thinking he's ugly, thinking that nobody wants him. So if you're a younger guy and maybe you relate to this and you think you're going through a phase, like, look, we all struggle with self-image, and you might even say, oh, you know, like you can't relate, you know, blah blah blah, and it's like, I hate to say blah 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 there, but you know, like, oh, hey, the meathead here is telling me that whatever, but like, there's so many people who have the same shared experience as you. If you're going through a rough time or you're going through it, I promise you, things get better. We've talked about it on this channel before. High school is a tough time for everybody. And I know sometimes they think, oh, the popular kids or the rich kids don't have it tough. It's tough for everybody, especially you're 12, 13, 14, 16. It's tough. But just understand that, you know, things get easier, things get better. If you're going through tough times, talk to your parents, talk to your teachers, find somebody to talk to. And this goes for young men and young women. It's an equally difficult time for everybody. But if you're getting bullied, again, talk to a teacher, talk to your parents, and just find somebody that's going to listen and navigate your way through it. And we don't want to see people ending up in situations like this. Obviously, this is the far extreme end of the scale with somebody committing a terrible crime, but even something a lot lower. So if you're this age, and you're struggling with school and stuff like that, things are going to get better, but find somebody to talk to. I know it's not always the easiest with your parents, and sometimes you don't feel like they're going to understand you, but that's the first place to go. But if you can't talk to them, talk to a teacher, talk to a coach, talk to an uncle or an aunt. But know that these are shared experiences for a lot of young people. And even though your parents or your aunts or uncles might not have had Insta or Snapchat or stuff like this, they understand what it's like to go through rough periods and stuff like this. So please talk to somebody, and just know that there are people out there who want to see you do the best and want to help you. So that's what I'm going to finish with. So
There you go.
Well said.
What another great episode of Adolescence. Look, we got one more to go. So for Appleton Oak, Diamond Dave, that's Mason Quinn. I'm, of course, the answer. We will catch you on the next one, pals.